Okie dokie. Hey everybody. I'm super stoked to talk about our upcoming trip to the high Atacama Desert in Chile. This is a place I've been going now for, this will be my fourth trip there. I've gone there every winter, spent at least a month. It is amazing. I've been dreaming about bringing a trip of trail runners, hikers there for a long time, and super stoked to be finally making a reality of it this February 2024. So going to walk through pretty quickly, basically how the trip will go and everything else. So this is part of Chaski, and all of Chaski's mission boils down to these four words: empowering athletes, fostering community. And these trips are definitely a way that we like to do that, bringing people together, you know, creating community, and empowering you guys to do awesome stuff, and especially something that's super off the beaten track like the Puna. So very quick, this is just what we're going to go through. And all these pictures we actually took ourselves. So props for that, to mostly me and Scott and some from Beto. But yeah, you get a sense of just how beautiful it is. So we'll basically just go over the trip itself, kind of how it'll work, who's going to lead it, a couple questions. We'll talk a little bit about the optional add-on to climb Ojos del Salado, the second tallest mountain in the Americas, and then we'll talk about pricing. And then if you have questions, you can always email, DM, text, etc. Okay, so quick overview. So we'll do kind of the who, what, when, why, how. So this trip is really for anybody who loves trail running, who loves hiking, who loves being outside, being active, and again, wants a real off the beaten path adventure. This is not Machu Picchu. It's not even Everest Base Camp. This is a place where you can go days without seeing another person, another tourist, which to me, I think is amazing. It's beautiful, to be out in nature, and we'll have a small group. So it's a really, really special place because those places are becoming harder and harder to come by in this day and age. So what exactly is this? This is a 10-day door-to-door, and we'll walk through the exact itinerary, a guided trip through Chile's high Atacama Desert. And we'll talk a little bit more about exactly where we're going to go. It's in the Puna de Atacama. The Puna is a big high plateau located at 3,800 meters. I'm going to just say everything in metric. You guys can obviously read the feet because I think in metric, especially when I'm down in South America. And we'll have hikes and runs up to about 6,000 meters is kind of the goal, is to get everyone to the top of a mountain called Nevado San Francisco, which is just over 6,000, which is a big barrier in mountaineering. When we're looking at late February, early March. And why? I mean, do we need a reason? Like, look at these photos, right? It's incredible. It's epic. And like I said before, it is uniquely empty. It's barren of tourism, of kind of the overcrowding and trash that we see in a lot of other really popular hiking destinations. And then the how? Well, I guess this is it. We're doing the how right now. Okay. Itinerary. So, like I said, this is 10 days door to door. And so that means basically you have a day on each end that is going to be your travel day. Saturday, assuming probably most people are going to be coming from the States, maybe we'll have a European or something. But assuming people are coming from the States, your first day is basically going to be you're going to leave the States. You're probably going to end up getting to Santiago and then fly overnight to Santiago and then into Copiapó the next morning. Copiapó is the closest big city. It's a big, basically just a oasis kind of mining town up in the northern part of Chile in the lower desert. So that first day is when we'll meet, your guides will meet you at Copiapó Airport. And then we'll drive up towards Laguna Santa Rosa, which will kind of be our home base up there. And we'll do a run hike at a place called the Oasis, which is about halfway up. So a little bit lower altitude for the first day, 2,000 meters. Do some little run hike there, kind of feel everybody out. It's really beautiful. We'll be camping that night, and then the next day we'll drive up to Laguna Santa Rosa, which is at 3,850. It's where I've kind of based myself for my own training and kind of exploring blocks up there. And we'll do an easy hike because we're going to let our bodies adapt a little bit that day, to a really beautiful overlook viewpoint where you get an awesome view of Tres Cruces. Okay, so then we kind of get into the meat of it. On the next day, we will hike up to Siete Hermanas. This is the Seven Sisters. So there's actually seven peaks. So we'll obviously go to one. It's 4,880. This is a really, really nice route. It's when I'm training there, it's kind of my daily, like when I'm not going off and doing something really big. The out and back there is kind of my daily thing. So it's a beautiful trail. It's actually one of the more easy to follow, like well-groomed trails, I would say. And it'll get us up nice and high, 4,880. So that'll be most of the day going up. We'll spend some time up nice and high. And this is one one where actually like you actually can do some running, especially on the downhill. It's a really nice trail, like I said, nice and clear. And it's a really good, just amazing view looking down over the lake. Laguna means lake for our non-Spanish speakers. So amazing view just over the kind of big flat expanse, and then big Tres Cruces Massif in the background. Wednesday, we'll have kind of a rest acclimatization day. And then if people want, there's a really cool place called, we call it, like, we have a lot of made up names. We got Mount Wubba Lubba Dub Dub, and this one, the Giant Boulder Beach, which is maybe like a 45-minute drive into the desert. And it's basically this really cool canyony area where there's these just humongous boulders just sitting in the sand. It's really cool. So it's a nice spot for a picnic if people want to get out. If you want to just full rest day, hang out at Laguna Santa Rosa, that's also cool. Okay, so then we'll start getting a little bit higher. Thursday, we will head to a mountain called Barrancas Blancas, which is about an hour drive from Laguna Santa Rosa. And we will go super early in the morning and do a nice hike. We'll try and get up to around 5,500 meters. There are a couple different kind of true summits, false summits. It's a big massif with a bunch of long summits on it. So we'll try and hit something around 55 is what we're looking for, because we're basically trying to go from 48, well, I guess almost 49 on Siete Urbanas, 55, and then 6,000 for San Francisco. And then that night, we'll end up sleeping at Laguna Verde, which is close to that and is a turquoise lake, even though it's called Green Lake. It's really pretty. Here's a picture. This is actually not Laguna Verde, but it's another hot spring. So we will have a rest day up there at Laguna Verde, where they do have natural hot springs. This you could call like a sky blue lake, I guess, or pond. I don't know. These are way out in the middle of nowhere. I just really like the photo. So anyway, so we'll be up at Laguna Verde. We'll have a rest day there, do some hot spring soak in, let the bodies recover. Uh-oh, did this just stop recording? No, sorry, I don't know why this just popped up. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so we'll have a rest day up there at Laguna Verde. And then the next day will be kind of our big adventure of the whole trip. So that's Nevada, San Francisco, 6,016 meters, almost 20,000 feet. It's a beautiful route. Again, it's one of the more well-traveled 6,000s. Again, for this area, well-traveled means like maybe we see one other party climbing or something, compared to like there literally being no trail. So there is an easier trail to follow. It's a beautiful summit, amazing views of Ojos del Salado, back to Laguna Verde. You're actually right on the border of Argentina and Chile, so you can check that box if you're counting countries, which is pretty cool. We'll traverse in, and then we'll come back down, sleep at Laguna Verde, and then the next day, it's basically the beginning of our travel home. We'll drive all the way back to Copiapó. It's a pretty long drive. And then people will fly out that evening to Santiago. We'll have kind of a big farewell dinner, and then everybody heads home to the USA. Most flights back to the States are overnight, so then you'll arrive home at some point the following day, day 10, which would be Monday. Okay, super important, lodging and food stuff. If you guys have been on another trip with us, maybe you came to Peru or Ecuador, or Flagstaff or something, this is a much more rustic experience. Again, off the beaten path. We love it, but it also means some of the modern luxuries that we have in the cities and things like that, or even in the Sacred Valley of Peru. We're not going to have those here. So this is a picture of the lodging at Laguna Santa Rosa. So as you can see, pretty basic. It's a little building. There are bunk beds inside. There's a small kitchenette. It's honestly really nice, like for where it is, given like when you get up here and you see how remote we are. It's a pretty nice space. We will also have a couple nights where we're camping. So that very first night we'll be camping. And at Laguna Verde, we will probably be camping as well. But in general, like there is no hot water at these places. We'll be doing, kind of home cooked meals that we'll either cook ourselves or the Laguna Santa Rosa staff will cook for us. That said, like the food can be like fantastic. We can accommodate vegetarian, vegan, allergies, all that kind of stuff. But definitely basic stuff. We won't be eating out at restaurants. There's not going to be hot showers while we're up there. They do have kind of like the bag showers if you've ever done those. That's an option. But mostly the big thing is like the temperature range is insane. It will be really hot and sunny if you're out in the middle of the sun in the day, and then at night and early in the morning it is freezing. And these places are not heated. As you can see, they're basically made of plywood and clay, so they're not super warm. So bring layers. We will have blankets and sleeping bags and things like that for people. You don't need to bring that stuff, but just be prepared. It's excellent, it's awesome, but it is rustic. Okay, travel. You should be flying into CPO, which is Copiapó. It's a town we talked about before. But basically, all your flights are going to go through Santiago, anyways. So what you want to do is you're going to book your flight from your home city to Santiago, Chile. These are the airport codes on the slide, and then you're going to book a separate trip from Santiago to Copiapó. And we can help with all this. I'm really good at travel stuff. I can help with booking flights, whatever. Make sure you run it by us, all that stuff before you click the buy button. But basically, you're gonna want to book two separate tickets, because if you try to do from like say Boston to Copiapó, it's only going to show you like one result, just because most of the airlines that operate that SCL CPO flight are domestic. So anyways, just little inside baseball there. But yeah, you're going to want to just basically just book a trip to Santiago and then a second flight to Copiapó. Okay, who's going to be on this trip? Me. If you're watching this, you probably know who I am, so I'm not going to like go through my own all my stuff. I guess maybe the one thing I am fluent in Spanish. Some of you might not know that, but I spent a ton of time in Latin America and a bunch of time here in Chile as well. And I've also been leading trips for 12 years. I started out leading student trips way back when I was like a freshman in college for high school kids. So that was yeah, I've basically been doing that my entire adult life. And then Scott Penfield will be our second leader. This is him, he and I, right after I first set the Ojos FKT way back in 2021, January. So he's been to the high Atacama with me now 3 years in a row. This will also be, or sorry, this will be his fourth year, my fifth. And yeah, 5 years that he and I have been leading trips together. So he's led trips here with me as well in Peru, also fluent in Spanish. And he's also done a lot of the climbing and running that we're going to do on this trip. So he's been on all the peaks that we will be on as a group. Okay, I'm sure you guys have questions. So let me answer or like try to preempt some of those. First thing, packing, weather, renting gear. I kind of addressed this before, but basically huge range, super hot, super cold. Expect both, bring layers. Like when I'm training up there, I'll often train in like a super thin tech shirt like this if I'm training at 11 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning when the sun is out. But like 4 hours before that, I might be in my giant puffy, like outside drinking coffee, So huge variety is what you need. And then anything you don't have, you can rent that in Copiapó. So we'll have a more complete packing list, but don't worry about stuff if you need to rent. How technical are these mountains and trails? In general, everything is non-technical. And the way I think about that is you never have to use your hands. Everything you can do with your feet only. The only exception to this is this bottom right picture is basically the final 20 meters of Ojos. And again, that's not part of our normal program. That is only an add-on. So if you don't plan on doing that, don't worry about it. Even this, if you're familiar with mountains at all, it's probably like a class 4, just kind of scramble. You might even be able to see in this photo, there's actually like a fixed line down the middle to kind of add for some safety, but you don't even, I mean, if you're relatively experienced, you don't really need to do it or use it. So that's probably the most technical pitch that anyone on this trip, including the add-on, would ever be on. Otherwise, it's a lot of stuff like the top right photo, where it's a lot of rocky, gravelly stuff. This another thing is like sometimes there's not really a trail. The mountains that we'll be on will be much more like I kind of curated this list so that we're on the stuff that has more of a trail. But there are times where you're just kind of like going down a scree field like this top right photo. Lastly, there will be some potential snow above 5,000 meters. I would say we're likely to hit that on San Francisco. Basically in the last 200 to 300 meters is where I would expect there to be snow on that mountain at this time of year. But it's also possible it's completely dry. Like this photo, the top right one is taken at like almost 6,000 meters. So it's it's extremely dry, as you can see. Barely a cloud in any of these photos. So there's not a lot of snow that falls during this time of year. So it's a really good time to be there. And it lets us get up really high without worrying about snow. Um, Running versus hiking. So we're kind of billing this as a trail running trip. It's kind of a hiking, climbing, trail running trip all in one. Honestly, I think for almost anybody who comes on this trip, it's going to be a lot of uphill hiking. And then if we're doing jogging and running, it's going to be on downhill or flatter pieces. And that's just because it's everything we do is going to be really high up. And running uphill at that altitude is kind of silly. As honestly, it's like who would do that? But really, it'll be hard enough hiking uphill. Some more FAQs. There is cell service at Laguna Verde, or sorry, excuse me, not at Laguna Verde, at Laguna Santa Rosa. That's where we'll be for I think 3 nights. You don't need to speak Spanish. If you do, great. But honestly, like you're not gonna encounter a ton of people. And then lastly, in case you're wondering about Steve, whether Steve decides to visit our trip, really up to Steve. But legend does have it that he likes KFC and Pizza Hut and leftover ramen. So this is Steve. If you don't know anything about Steve, you could just maybe like go look through my Instagram story archives or something. But he's a bird that lives at Laguna Santa Rosa who hangs out with us when we're bored and is our best friend. Okay, the add-on for Ojos, this is the world's highest volcano. It's the second highest mountain outside of Asia, which is pretty cool. Yeah, second only to Aconcagua, if you've heard of that. So it's the second summit. What is it called? The second seven, or like seven summits, second seven, whatever. It's a really tall mountain. It's really, really pretty. And unlike Aconcagua, it is empty. I've climbed both these mountains a handful of times now. Aconcagua, you can't throw a rock without hitting a Russian tourist. When I set the Ojos FKT, I was literally the only person on the entire mountain. So completely different experience. Still pretty easy trail to follow because there is enough foot traffic that it kind of beats in the trail. But it's just a completely different experience from Aconcagua or any of their seven summits. And like I said before, again, still non-technical until that very last like 20-ish meter kind of rock scramble. And in general, this mountain does have snow on it. As you can see, there's snow on the summit. So this is a little bit more serious of a climb. You definitely want to have some climbing experience, understand how to use crampons, things like that. Though it sure looks like I'm not wearing crampons in this photo. Huh, that's pretty interesting. Wonder if I took them off. So yeah, it's a great mountain. The big thing for this, you need 2 extra days. And it's a maximum of 2 people because you're going to work directly with me. And that's the maximum amount of people I'm comfortable working with at one time on a bigger mountain like this. So we want someone, you should be fairly fit, have ideally some experience on steeper-ish mountains, maybe a little bit of higher altitude experience, but again, you're going to get that before this on the trip anyways. And then you need 2 extra days and 2 people. Okay, so pricing for all of this. The total trip cost is $34.50. With the Ojos add-on, that's an extra $9.50 for those extra 2 days. And what is included in this price? It's basically an all-inclusive trip. So once you land in Copiapó and we pick you up at the airport, you really shouldn't have to pay for anything. Like all of your lodging, all of your food, all of our transportation, that's going to be part of the group trip. This is not going to be, again, quite so much like our other trips that we've done to Flag or Quito or Peru or even Nepal, where kind of you can go off and do stuff on your own. Like you can definitely have private time, but there's just like not really anywhere to go. So like there's not restaurants, there's not souvenir stands, there's not anything to go and do and spend your money on like once you're up there. So yeah, basically unless you're buying souvenirs, like once we're down in Copiapó or in Santiago, like these are pretty much going to be all of your expenses are going to be covered in this one-time payment. And all of your obviously permits, logistics, all that, we're in charge of all that. And yeah, obviously you're professional leaders. That's us. And then the only things that are not included, like I said, the extras, like again, that's probably going to be done in Copiapó. And then insurance, that's pretty important. Just getting some basic travel insurance for yourself, and then your flights down there and back to your home country. Those are the big costs there. That is all I've got. I hope that this recording worked, or else I'm gonna have to do it again. And if you have questions, if you have thoughts, a lot of you who I'm going to send this to are already in regular touch with me, so feel free to just shoot me a text, shoot me an email, whatever you prefer. Or if you're seeing this somehow, through the Chaski ecosystem through an email, through a Slack message, through a post, whatever, feel free to email me directly. My email is ty@chaski.run, or shoot us a DM on Instagram, chaski.endurance, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. All right, that's it. It is going to be a really small, limited trip. We already have, I think, at least 4 people who have basically given me verbal commitments. So that means we have 4 spots left. So if you're interested in this, if you're on the fence, reach out. It will go really quick, and I'm super excited. I'll see you guys soon.